My approach is to be really holistic because at the end of the day, whether it's a custody dispute or a divorce, even though you see it as kind of a dissembling of the family, it's just a restructured family. And I hear from my clients who come from divorced parents all the time that divorce has ramifications well into adulthood. And so I see my job as to help parties learn how to communicate effectively, learn how to handle their own disputes effectively, and essentially build the ability to have a healthy co-parenting relationship. That's not only going to help them in the future avoid litigation down the road, but it's also going to support their children. And so if we can do that as practitioners, that's just going to make healthier, better people in the future. I have a lot of experience handling custody disputes. My practice area has always been primarily in family law, and whether that comes from traditional custody cases or divorces, that's just part and parcel of the job. Prior to working at Rognison Field, I was a clerk in Hennepin County Family Court, where the judge I worked for, handled primarily custody cases and divorce-related issues as well. I think one of the largest challenges we face in handling custody disputes is that it is so personal. Nothing is more personable than your children and who's going to manage your children. And if typically in a divorce, if there's some trust loss, rebuilding that trust to ensure that both parents feel secure and that their children are well cared for, that's kind of the biggest hurdle. And a lot of that can't be strategized in a courtroom. A lot of that can't happen, through just legal intervention. A lot of that has to happen through the parties' commitment to just do better by their kids. The trends I see in Minnesota are really focused on recognizing both parties' contribution to the family, and that is resulting in judges kind of coming to the table with the presumption that both parents should really be as involved as possible and sharing as much parenting time as possible. We definitely see that specifically in Hennepin and Ramsey counties. I think in greater Minnesota, that's to a lesser extent, but I do see that trend happening, as a tide throughout the state, that we want both parents to feel equally responsible and committed to their families. And I think that's also reflective of same-sex couples that are coming to the table as well, who are now having to navigate custody and parenting time disputes. The advice that I always give to parties is to be as reasonable as possible, to remember that at one time this person was loved and trusted, but also recognize there's pitfalls. Parties are struggling with chemical dependency issues. They might be just struggling with mental health issues. And so really pointing parties to those supports that can help them be the best parents they can be is just going to help the family as a whole. In Minnesota, we establish custody labels, and that's through a legal custody designation and a physical custody designation. Legal custody kind of handles big decision-making issues with regard to school choice, where children attend school, medical care, like think big medical care, vaccinations, elective surgeries, things like that, and religious training. So where a child attend Sunday school, where they go to church. Those issues are comprised under the legal custody designation. Physical custody is a bit of a misnomer. The legal definition of physical custody is the daily care and control of the children. Well, whoever has parenting time will have daily care and control of the children. Legal custody in Minnesota means more when parties try to modify that label in the future. So on a day-to-day practical level, the physical custody label doesn't have as much ramification as it would in a future litigation context.